Chapter 13. When we got back to our house, it was after 10 o'clock, more than an hour past the time I usually went to bed in the summer. Charlotte Ann was wide awake when we came in and was making a terrible noise. Circus and I went in for a minute to see what all the fuss was about. Mrs. Trevelyan, the nurse, was holding her, and the little thing stopped crying the minute we came in. Or, I should have said, the minute she saw Circus. "I know how to look at girls," he said to me, grinning. "I've got 3 sisters." "4. I said. "You're getting a new one at your house tonight." And he said, "Yeah, that's right," sort of disappointed sounding. "Good night," I called to my mom in the other room, after watching Charlotte Ann drink her milk for a minute. She was the cutest little thing. Even Circus looked at her as if he thought so, too, and I got to thinking maybe he liked his sisters better than he let on. Most boys don't want to let anybody know they like girls at all, even if they do. Then I looked at Miss Trillian with her pretty crimson cheeks and blue eyes and said goodnight again. Special. She was holding a bottle with a nipple on it for Charlotte Ann. Then she looked at me and smiled at me and said, "Good night, Bill." Circus said good night too. She gave him a nice smile, but not nearly as nice as the one she gave me, I thought. Then Circus and I went upstairs. Circus didn't seem very happy, and you couldn't blame him with his dad drunk and in jail, but in spite of that, he felt sorry for his dad. "He's good to us sometimes," he said while we were getting undressed. One day last week, he told Mom he'd never get drunk again in his life. And I saw him give her a big hug, like he really meant it. And Mom cried because she was so happy. But those old newspapers and magazines Dad reads have big whiskey advertisements in them and important-looking men drinking it and saying how good it is. And the first thing you know, Dad goes to town and buys some again. Then he said, "You know what I wish?" And I could see that he was getting mad at the people who made whiskey and sold it and advertised it. "I wish," he said with his fist doubling up and his voice trembling, "I wish they'd just once take a picture of my dad when he's drunk and looking like he did uptown tonight and put that in their old papers and magazines. I bet that wouldn't make anybody want to buy any." Circus kept his fist doubled up, and he looked so fierce it almost scared me. Still, I was kind of proud of him that he could get mad at something like that, because it's all right to get angry at sin. My dad says so. And once even Jesus got angry at some people in the Bible who were doing wrong. I guess maybe God hates sin terribly. It didn't take us long to get ready for bed, and pretty soon we were under the covers with the lamp out and the moonlight shining in on us. Then I remembered that I hadn't said my prayers. In fact, I'd been thinking about it for quite a while, and I didn't know what to do. I was sure Circus had never said his prayers in his life, because even if he had a good mother, he wasn't a Christian yet, and she'd never taught him to pray. So I began to think maybe I'd say my prayers in bed. But I remembered the story we'd read in school when we were in 4th grade about little Arthur's prayer, and how that brave little fellow had knelt down before a whole room full of boys and prayed before going to bed. So I lay there thinking, wondering if Circus would make fun of me. Then I began to wonder what little Jim would do if he were here, and I knew that he wouldn't even think about being afraid or ashamed of praying. So I decided on something. And talk about being brave in a fight, I guess I had never had a harder time in life to be braver than right that minute. My heart started beating fast, and I was actually scared to do what I knew I had to do. I asked Circus if he remembered Little Arthur's prayer, and he did. Then I told him about poetry praying every night before he went to bed. I knew he liked poetry a lot, so pretty soon I said suddenly, with my heart still beating fast, "Let us do it too," not telling him I always prayed every night anyway, although I guess maybe I should have. Circus grunted and then said, "You do it first." Well, in a twinkle, I was out of my bed and saying my prayers quietly, as I did sometimes anyway, knowing Jesus could hear me, even if I didn't talk out loud. I prayed for Circus's dad there in jail, and for his mother and his new baby sister. Then I jumped up out of my knees with my heart light as a feather and said, "I guess I feel better now," and I climbed into bed over on the other side of Circus. Circus lay still there for about half a minute, and then suddenly he was down on his knees right there where I'd been. His brown hair shined in the moonlight. I guess I never told you Circus had the nicest brown hair. He told me later that he'd never prayed before in his whole life. I'd never thought about him not being able to know what to say. But then he jumped up real quick like and said the same thing that I said when I got up. "I guess I feel better now." He got up into the bed with his face turned the other way on the pillow. After a while, I said to Circus, "I prayed for your dad." He didn't say anything. I wouldn't have found out how terribly bad he felt about his dad if I hadn't put my hand on his shoulder and felt a teeny wet spot on his pillow, like maybe a tear had dropped there. But I didn't tell him I'd felt it. I just rolled over and said, "Good night."